Hello, love bugs. Today, I took a little time to try out the demo of a game that has been on my radar for a long time, the new enchanting RPG life sim that is on its way to us called Mirthwood.
Home is not where you're from. It's where you find light when all grows dark. And your story begins in darkness.
A little cozy, but also a little dark. I really think that Mirthwood is going to bring a breath of fresh air and new life into this genre. You start the game right off with your village having been pillaged and burned to the ground, and you are running for your life. But first, let's talk about some character customization. I actually really like the character customization for a demo. While of course I'm hoping for more skin tones and also hoping even maybe for some more body types and things. I do appreciate that right off from the bat, even though you have to pick a female or male body type, you do get to wear beards or hairstyles however you like. What I really loved about it was choosing your origin class and profession. The origin kind of tells what your character is like based on where they're from. Your class is going to give you, again, different kind of attitude from people in the game. And then your profession seems like the biggest, most important part, picking where your character came from, what they like to do. I decided to personally go with Tinkerer. You all know that I love hitting rocks and I love playing with stuff like that, so it was kind of the perfect thing for my first character. But I think all of these different choices are going to change the experience of the game so very much that it's going to offer a lot of replay value from a game that's already going to have a lot of play value to begin with. The game starts you off pretty quickly by getting you into some gear, giving you some food to eat, giving you a sword so that you can fight with, and then even giving a little silly something. I found this little bucket helmet, which I thought, oh, this is the silliness that we get from games like Terraria or Stardew Valley, where you can find silly little items that are important in this like dark landscape, but also are kind of a joke, which I think kind of balances some of the darkness. As you can see there, you learn how to fight pretty quickly, but then also I was very quickly ran into a little side quest that gave me a decision to make about whether someone was going to live or what they were going to die, or whether I was going to have no part in the decision making. And based on the decision that I made, it actually affected both my renown and my morality, which I thought was a really interesting and exciting thing to already see in the game, especially this early. This little tutorial of you escaping truly does its job in teaching you kind of the basics of how the game works, even though the developers say that the game is absolutely not going to hold your hand. I even got a little introduction this early in the game to the level up system, which you can see is extensive. Truly, by the time that I got to this point, which is the ship that you have to reach, I felt like I knew what I was doing. However, the game truly starts, I think, at this point with a stranger giving you a plot of land, which is pretty similar, I feel, for these kind of life sim games that we play, giving you a place that you can sleep, a place where you can rest, encouraging you to check out the area that you live before you really jump into anything else. I, of course, wanted to explore, but the game was like, hey, go take a nap. So I was like, okay. Obviously, you can tell the art style here is absolutely stunningly beautiful. Everything is hand drawn, and it's one of the things that draws me to the game so much. Another thing that draws me to it is that truly you can play however you want. If you have been missing the excitement of going out and adventuring and wielding a sword and fighting bandits, then you can play the game that way. If that sounds in no way fun to you, you don't have to, and you can just build your little house and it'll be amazing. The game starts you right off in the demo by giving you some free stuff to get working. So I started hitting rocks and then started working on my farm. And I originally was really frustrated with how like the farming was working until I discovered that there was actually a grid, and a grid that's not annoying on your eyes, which, let's just be honest, that is amazing and massive. Not only was the grid not annoying on my eyes and easy for me to make my farm better, the plots that I had put down that I didn't like, I easily removed. So the gardening was very satisfying already in the demo, which is a very, very good sign. I decided to spend a little bit of time just getting all of that laid out and done, since obviously gardening is such an important way to make money generally in games, and especially for it being like a life sim, I know that eating is going to be important as well. Went around, thought the watering mechanic was really cool, and again, just everything was really beautiful. Like the way that the game is put together, it's very pretty. So I could see why someone could enjoy just sitting here and crafting and chopping trees and chopping stone and getting decor and building all the things that you want to build. I don't know if this is just part of the demo that I already have all these things unlocked, or if it is how the game will work in the beginning, but I was really impressed to see that there were already wells and things for me to build. I already had animal stalls that I could build, which of course made me very excited because I love doing that kind of stuff in a game, as well as a couple of different chests to store all of my items and get organized, fences so I could start laying out my plot. I just love that the game, while it's trying to bring some of that combat and storyline into the game, really was like, no, we're also going to make it happy for those of you that just want to decorate and have fun. Now, this mechanic of the skill cards makes me incredibly excited. As you level up in your different skills, it seems that you unlock skill cards. So I decided to attach the one that gives me better stuff when I'm hitting rocks. But then I was curious, am I stuck with that once I pick it? And no, you're not. So I added an additional skill for doing lumber, equipped my axe, and went to go chop trees, and then was getting the bonus from that card instead, which I thought was amazing, that you can constantly be switching between these different skill cards. I'm hoping that they'll allow us to make combinations of skill cards, maybe like little decks that we could just click between, that we could easily access the different bundles we want based on what we're doing. And then also, I spent all day, of course, trying to build something cute and made myself a little fountain because I wanted to have some decor already on my plot, and it was pretty easy to do, and then decided to sleep my day away. I was already impressed at this point with all of the things that I had, being only the second day in the game, or third day, I guess, at this point. I messed around with the cooking pot, built myself a little chicken spot for some chickens, and then was sad to see that there were no chickens. So I decided that it was time for me to go into town and find myself some chickens. But before that happened, I discovered all kinds of new things. For example, how relationships work. There is romancing and friendships and enemies in this game that you can get. Now, the discussion style in this game I find very, very interesting. Also, it introduced really quickly the fact that there are some cool festivals happening depending on the season, which I thought was nice. But let's talk about the conversations. They're very, very interesting. Instead of talking to someone and just generally saying, like, let's talk, and then responding, you actually choose the type of conversation you want to have with the person, and based on how they like it. Like, I just spoke to Farah here, talking leisurely, and Farah was not interested and tried to switch the conversation to something else. And then you can romance, you can gossip, you can influence them in different directions, changing how they feel. Now, that whole aspect I think is incredible. I think this is unlike any other game like this that I have played, and the fact that you have all these options of how to talk to them and can just keep having this conversation with them, affecting their mood and how they feel about you, is incredible. The only thing I don't like about it is I do wish that maybe at some point, once you get to a certain level with the character, that they'll actually have conversations where you can read dialogue and learn about them. I also found some random quests as I was going around, and some areas that I couldn't quite get into yet, but that was okay. As I walked down here, I also discovered my only big glitch of the game. After picking some berries, I got excited to see this chicken, and it was very frozen and it looked like a piece of paper, and I spent an embarrassingly long amount of time just messing with this little glitched chicken before I barged into this person's house to tell them about their chicken, and they seemed very upset that I was in there. So that was something else that I was noticing about the game, is that it seems like the characters are always talking and interacting too. And I discovered you could steal, which also affected my morality in the game. As I kept discovering, walking around throughout the town, I found a couple of different spots where you could trade. Like, this seems to be like a tavern where you could trade for food. I also found a stage that taught me about performing, another trade spot that's specifically for weapons, and also for cute hats and different clothing, but they do seem to affect like your defense and stuff as well, or maybe even different stats, which I thought was really exciting. I also just love the idea that we get cute little caps and things that we could wear at different times. I really liked the little feathered hat, and I almost bought it for myself until I saw the absolute best hat and absolutely had to buy it for myself, because I was like, it's just a demo, I'm spending my money, and became a Jacko helmet. I I mean, come on. Like, I had to buy it, right? It's the demo. It's not going to save anyway. I stole some clothes from somebody in their house and then learned about jousting, another thing that I didn't get into in the game yet. But oh my gosh, what an exciting thing to do. I finally found a spot where I could buy animals and buy barns and things, and found out that the chickens were really expensive, which made me upset because my whole goal was to buy a chicken. 1,000 caps, get out of here. I decided to head back to my house and do some exploring, and I ended up finding a rare item, and I'm curious as to how the rare items will work in the game, if they're always in the same spot or if you have a rare chance of finding them. I really like that rare chance of fighting things. Then I decided to fight a bandit, and my whole body hurt, which it didn't work out well for me. They definitely murdered me, but I did come right back to life, and the world was just a little bit darker, and I was able to enact my revenge and then, go through all their belongings and steal their stuff as you would in a game like this. Unless, like I said, you're just interested in building a garden. All in all, this game is absolutely stunningly beautiful. The soundtrack is stunningly gorgeous. The fact that you have so many options about what you can do, whether you want to follow storylines and make yourself kind of a linear gameplay of the game, or if you're more interested in just doing whatever you want at any point that you want and playing it through like a cozy game where you're going to romance people, hang out in the town, go to the tavern and have drinks with the members of the community, and then go farm on your little farming plot and decorate it gorgeously, then you can play that way. I love that it gives you multiple different playthrough options, and honestly, Mirthwood is just going to the top of my list of games to look out for.